Pingelap is a tiny coral island in the Pacific, surrounded by turquoise water and dense tropical green. Only 247 people call it home. Roughly 1 in 10 of them have never seen a single one of those colors. They experience this landscape entirely in shades of gray. It is 300 times more common here than anywhere else on Earth, and the reason traces back to one catastrophic afternoon in 1775. Achromatopsia is a rare inherited condition that affects how the eyes process light and color. On Pingelap, it is present at a rate almost unmatched anywhere else in the world. People born with achromatopsia see the world in shades of gray. Their eyes lack working cone cells, the parts of the retina responsible for detecting color and fine detail. This means that from birth, colors like blue, green, and red simply do not exist in their visual experience. What they see is a landscape made up of light and dark, shadow and brightness, but never hue. This condition brings more than just color loss. Most individuals with achromatopsia experience severe sensitivity to light, known as photophobia. Even moderate daylight can cause discomfort, watering eyes, and a strong urge to squint or seek shade. Many also have poor visual acuity, often measured between 20/200 and 20/400. This level of clarity is considered legally blind in many countries. Reading small print, recognizing faces at a distance, or spotting details in the environment can be difficult. Achromatopsia is present from birth and does not get worse over time. It follows an autosomal recessive inheritance pattern, meaning a child must inherit a copy of the altered gene from both parents to be affected. On Pingelap, this pattern has led to an unusually high number of people with the condition. The combination of near-total color blindness, extreme light sensitivity, and reduced sharpness of vision shapes daily routines and community life in ways that are unique to this small island. In the collective memory of Pingelap, the story of the Great Storm is told with a quiet gravity. In 1775, Typhoon Lenkieki swept across the atoll, leaving devastation in its wake. Where there had once been over 1,000 residents, only about 20 survived. Among them was the island's hereditary chief, Nan Mwarki Mwahuele. Oral histories recall how these survivors, just a handful of families, became the ancestors of nearly everyone living on Pingelap today. This dramatic reduction in population created what geneticists call a bottleneck. Imagine a jar filled with beads, most white, a few red. If nearly all the beads are suddenly lost, the few that remain set the pattern for all beads added in the future. In Pingelap's case, the red bead represents a rare gene variant. The chief, likely a carrier of this variant, passed it on to his children. Because the island was so isolated and marriages happened mostly within the small community, the gene did not fade away. Instead, it became more common with each generation. Years later, scientists traced the cause of Pingelap's high rate of achromatopsia to a single change in the CNGB3 gene. Every person on the island with complete color blindness shares an identical single base deletion in this gene. The evidence is clear. A single storm, a small group of survivors, and a rare genetic variant combined to shape the visual world of Pingelap. Today, about 1 in 10 residents is affected, and nearly 1/3 carry the gene. The legacy of that storm lives on, not just in memory, but in the way many islanders see their home. Before the sun reaches the horizon, a fisherman named Lone gathers his gear in the quiet pre-dawn. On Pingelap, the best hours for fishing come before the sky grows too bright to bear. Lone slips on a wide-brimmed hat and ties a strip of cloth around his forehead. In his pocket, he carries a pair of red-tinted lenses. These simple tools are as important as his fishing line and hooks. The walk to the lagoon is guided more by memory and the feel of the path than by sight. Lone's world is built from shadow and light, the gentle grey of the sand underfoot, the subtle change in air as he nears the water. These are his signposts. At the shoreline, he checks the faint glow along the horizon, judging whether the light is still soft enough for his eyes. The early hour gives him an advantage. While others might wait for the sun to rise, he's already casting his line, using the low light to spot the ripple of fish on the surface. His fingers read the tension in the line, alert to every movement below the water. As the morning brightens, Lone pulls his hat lower and slips on the red lenses. The tinted glass dulls the glare, easing the pain of the growing sun. By midday, the heat and light become overwhelming. Lone retreats to a shaded veranda, resting with other fishermen until the harshest hours pass. This midday break is not just habit, it is necessity. Only when the sun begins to dip again does he return to the water. Lone's routine is shaped by the limits of his vision, but also by a quiet expertise. He reads the world through touch, sound, and the shifting patterns of brightness. In the hours when others might struggle to see, he finds his rhythm, bringing home a catch that speaks to a lifetime of adaptation. In the heart of Pingelap, daily life is shaped by a set of shared adaptations that make vision differences almost unremarkable. In the village school, a teacher stands beside a chalkboard covered in bold, oversized writing. Lessons are printed in high-contrast black on white or yellow paper, with larger letters than most textbooks elsewhere. Students who struggle with glare are seated away from windows, their desks shaded by simple curtains made from woven mats. Some wear red-tinted glasses during reading time, a small adjustment that eases the strain of bright light and helps them focus on the page. These classroom routines are not special accommodations, they are simply how learning happens here. In workshops scattered around the island, artisans select materials by feel rather than by sight. A master weaver runs her fingers across bundles of pandanus leaves, searching for the smoothest or the most ribbed. Patterns are chosen for their texture, not their color. Finished mats are judged by the tightness of knots and the way the fibers catch the light, rather than any difference in hue. Boat builders too carve grooves and notches into wood, creating lines that stand out in shadow and brightness. These tactile details guide hands and eyes alike, ensuring work can be done even when vision is limited. The local language reflects this approach. The word maskun, used for achromatopsia, means not see. It describes a way of moving through the world where brightness, shadow, and texture matter more than color. Everyday speech is rich with terms for light and shade, for the sheen of a polished hull or the deep coolness beneath a thatched roof. In this community, adaptation is woven into every tool, every lesson, and every conversation, allowing people with different kinds of vision to participate fully in the life of the island. In the summer of 1994, a small team of scientists arrived on Pingelap, led by neurologist Oliver Sacks. Their visit was anchored in the island's health archive, where records and oral histories offered a rare glimpse into the community's experience with achromatopsia. The team's purpose was clear: to understand the genetic roots of colorblindness here and to gather blood samples that might answer questions reaching far beyond the atoll. But scientific curiosity met with careful deliberation. The Pingelap Island Council, representing the community, insisted that every participant understand exactly what was being asked. For the first time, written consent forms, translated into Pingelapese, were presented and signed in the presence of local leaders. This marked a turning point. The process was slow, sometimes requiring a pause for discussion or a question from an elder. Yet the Council's involvement set a new standard, ensuring that research would be guided by respect, transparency, and the will of the people who call Pingelap home. For many young people on Pingelap, the question of where to build a future is more complicated than it seems. Secondary education often means leaving the atoll for larger islands like Pohnpei, where schools offer more advanced classes, but city lights can be harsh for those with achromatopsia. Some students describe the glare of urban streets and classrooms as almost blinding, far brighter than anything at home. Others speak of hope. News of clinical trials for gene therapy has reached the island, and a few families dream of access to treatments that could restore some degree of color vision. Yet the path is uncertain, travel is expensive, and participation in medical studies requires leaving behind family and familiar routines. In quiet moments, teens and young adults weigh the promise of new possibilities against the comfort of a community where their way of seeing is understood by everyone around them. Today, on Pingelap, color blindness shapes daily life as much as the ocean shapes the shore. As genetic conditions ripple through generations, the island reminds us how isolation can redefine what is ordinary. Our differences, seen or unseen, quietly shape the world we share. Thanks for watching.